Hello and welcome in, Magic Learners. Much love. Doing a really fun deck review today of a blue-red Polymorph. Super tricksy deck, super funky deck, and let's get right into it. So the goal of this deck in Modern is to get an Emrakul into play. Generally not by casting it, but through a few tricks. So Emrakul, 15 mana, which is generally a lot of mana. 15 is, yeah, a lot. But you get a 15/15, can't be countered. If you cast Emrakul, you take an extra turn. Flying, protection from colored spells, Annihilator 6, which means when you attack with Emrakul, the opponent sacrifices 6 permanents. 6 permanents sacrificed. And when it's put into a graveyard from anywhere, we shuffle all of our graveyard into our library. Now, Emrakul's awesome. It's the biggest, baddest creature of all time, just about. And whether you cast it or not, it's still awesome. Especially in Modern, 15 damage is enough to kill a lot of players because a lot of players deal damage to themselves with fetch lands and shock lands. And it's got flying, protection from colored spells, and a lot of the time they have 6 permanents and they sacrifice all of them. So I really like Emrakul. It's my favorite creature, probably. Yeah, it's just so big. It's just so fun. And I like to attack with it. So this deck does that in 2 different ways. The simple and the most obvious is through the breach, 5 mana. You may put a creature card from your hand on the battlefield. The creature has haste, and we sacrifice the creature at the next end step. So 5 mana, put Emrakul into play. You take 15 damage, sacrifice 6 permanents. Are we done? Finish you off with a lightning bolt if necessary. That's generally how that goes. However, let's get to the much more interesting part of the deck, which is Polymorph. We've got this buff rabbit tweaking out art. 3 and a blue, destroy target creature, can't be regenerated. Its controller reveals cards from the top of his library until he or she reveals a creature card. The player puts that card on the battlefield, then shuffles all other cards revealed this way into his or her library. So we kill one creature and flip from the top of our deck until we hit the next creature. So check this out. You see that we're a blue-red deck, right? But we've got 4 Wooded Foothills. Bring this over here, and 4 Misty Rainforest, which can find steam vents. So we've got really good mana. Steam vents is an island mountain, so Misty finds steam vents, an island. Wooded Foothills finds steam vents, an island, right? And we have 8 of them, which is a lot. However, each of these also finds a forest, and you know what's a forest? Yeah, my second favorite creature of all time, Dryad Arbor. It's a forest dryad, and it's a land, and it's a creature. And we can pull it out of our deck through Misty Rainforest or Wooded Foothills at the end of their 3rd turn, especially if they're tapped out. Turn 1 land, turn 2 land, turn 3, play one of these fetch lands. End of your turn, fetch Dryad Arbor, untap, slam the 4th land. Bam, Polymorph and Rabbit turn Dryad Arbor out of a hat into Emrakul. And that's a pretty good way to win. So we also have a few Mutavaults, which can become creatures, which work with Polymorph in case our Dryad Arbor dies. Or if our Dryad Arbor dies, we can discard Emrakul to Izzet Charm, which Izzet Charm really flexible, counters a spell, deals 2 damage to a creature, draws and discards 2 cards, can discard Emrakul, shuffle Dryad Arbor back into our deck if need be. And then the rest of our deck is mana and control and search. We've got Remand, which is also a counter. We draw a card, puts it back to their hand. Gitaxian Probe to check their hand out, see what they've got. Serum Visions and Sleight of Hand to dig through our deck. Spell Pierce is another tricky counterspell. Lightning Bolt as removal and to finish the opponent, because sometimes 15 damage is not enough. And then Pentad Prism is pretty important. I really like it. Sunburst. For a blue and a red, it enters the battlefield with 2 charge counters. We can remove those charge counters to make 2 mana. So we can go turn 2 Pentad Prism, turn 3 through the breach, Emrakul, attack for 15, sack 6 permanents, you done. Or we can go turn 2 Pentad Prism, turn 3 Dryad Arbor, Polymorph Dryad Arbor, make an Emrakul. Your turn. So that's the way the main deck works. Really fun. Come back tomorrow for match number 1. We have our daily Magic match series where if we lose, we come back. If we win, we maybe play another, but it's all about habit formation, discipline. If I lose, I'm going to come back and I'm going to try again tomorrow. I will not be defined by defeats. And we use the recency bias of the human brain that remembers the most, which remembers the end of a sequence best. So even if we go 0-3 and then win the last round, our puny human brains only remember the victory. So that's what this series is about. And also daily Magic the Gathering is a good thing to do. So quickly look at the sideboard. We've got a few ways of storage mana to produce enough mana to cast Emrakul, or stall the game out against, when the game stalls out against counter decks, we can build up a critical mass of mana, adding a storage counter every turn. A few counter spells of various kinds against various decks, a little bit of land removal, artifact removal, graveyard removal, a few burn spells against other small creature against small creature decks, threads of disloyalty because sometimes you just want to steal a glyph, and Wormcoil Engine, which is a head scratcher for some people, but sometimes you don't mind polymorphing into Wormcoil. There's certain decks where you want to cast Wormcoil, or you don't mind through the breaching it, or you can live long enough through control elements to just play it. So it's a nice versatile card against certain red heavy decks. And that is basically it. So I'll see you tomorrow for the matches. Let me know what you think of this deck in the comments. Let me know what other decks you want to see. And thank you to all our supporters on Patreon. And thanks to all of everyone in the Magic Mastermind and everyone I'm working with one-on-one. Really fun stuff. I love this channel. Magic Learning. See you tomorrow. Take care.